Hey everyone, Clio here, welcome to my channel. Today I will be doing some spring cleaning in my bookshelves. Yes, it is finally the time. I'm finally going to take a more critical view of the books that I have on my shelves and to figure out which ones I want to keep on there and which ones I don't. And for that I'm really going to try and be a little bit brutal because previously, for example, I wasn't willing to get rid of my books that I had for university, so all the books I had to read for university. Even though a lot of them I didn't really like, and so they're just taking up space in my bookshelf for no particular reason. So I'm going to be brutal and not allow myself to have stupid reasons like that clutter my judgments. I will be piling all of the books that I'm gonna get rid of onto my sofa and then going through them again, seeing which ones I definitely want to get rid of and which ones I want to give another chance, and then maybe later on I will do like a sort of try chapter tag maybe for some of the maybe books. But so yeah, I'll be going through them. I might on occasion stop and talk to you guys about the reasons I'm having for doubting my decision on a certain book, but I don't think, I don't know, we'll see as we get along. Now, before I start, I might want to show you some of the organization for my bookshelf. However, no, maybe I'll just keep that for when I give you the tour of my bookshelf afterwards. To make the first cut was actually easier than I thought, because it took me about like 15 minutes to do it, but now comes the more difficult task of like sorting through the books that I put there, because I really like at the slightest hesitation about do I really want to keep this or not, I immediately decided, okay, just put it on the sofa and let's see. There's actually a series that I also am considering tossing, but I really hated the first book, but I want to give the second book a try before I will toss it. And so I didn't put it in my try chapter thing because I really want to go more than one chapter into it and see what I feel about it. So I didn't include that one, it's still on the shelves. If I go through my shelves later on, I will point that series out to you. But okay, so let's now go through this pile. I'll first organize it because it's like one giant pile of crap at the moment. That's what it looks like. So I'll first organize it a bit and then I'll get back to you guys. Alright, we moved to a different location. That's because I got a pile of, well, a box full of books on my left. So I'll first be going through the books that I've discarded. I went through a first process in which I went through all the books that were on the maybe/get rid of. Thank you, cat. Hey, Fate. That were on the get rid of / maybe pile, and then I went through that one first time saying, okay, all of these I really don't have a decent enough reason to keep, so all of these can go. And that ended me up with about 43 books for the get rid of pile, and somewhere in the 20 for the maybe pile. And then I went through the maybe pile again, and I made myself the rule: if you've already read it, so everything that I hadn't read yet could stay in there. If I hadn't read it yet, I had to see if I have read it already and I don't remember a thing that happens in it, it goes to the get rid of pile. If I've read it already and I have read it, I had to make up my own mind about it, and that ended me up with 5 extra books for the get rid of pile. So in total I'm getting rid of 48 books. I still have quite a lot on my shelves, but I'm now more happy about what is on my shelf still. I mean, there are books on there that I've been holding on to for so long that actually I've never been inclined to reach for. So a lot of those are now on the maybe shelf still, but I will be doing the try chapter thing there to see, okay, what do I feel about this, and to maybe get rid of them altogether as well. So I'll just quickly, I say quickly when there's 43 books. I won't necessarily go into much into detail about the books. In a lot of cases I don't know what they are about, but I might give you some reasoning for them. So we have a lot of them that are university books. As I mentioned before, I'd been holding on to these thinking like, yeah, but they're from my university days. I like to be able to see like all of this I had to read from my university days, but there's really no reason to keep them for that. So I have the Yellow Wallpaper and Selected Writings by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. I really liked the Yellow Wallpaper, but I have no inclination to reread it or to read any of the other selected stories. So this was one of the final additions to the get rid of pile, but I really didn't have any conclusive reason to keep on to it, so it's being tossed. Shuttlecock, university book that I don't remember anything about. The Heart is a Lonely Hunter, not a university book, but I don't remember anything about it, so might as well get rid of it. The Awakening and Selected Stories by Kate Chopin, same as the Yellow Wallpaper. For university I liked it, but I don't want to reread it, and I don't think I'll ever read the other short stories in it. White Sargasso Sea, I know it's a retelling of a story, not even sure which one. No, not even sure it's a retelling. It's supposed to be a retelling of Jane Eyre. Don't remember anything about it, so getting rid of it. Mrs. Dalloway, this is the only book that's in there for a different reason. I have 2 copies of this, so this is the most ugly edition that I have. 3 other books in the series are coming up. I have felt no inclination to read this series. I tried the chapter once, didn't really feel for it, and so we are now probably 10 years later and I still haven't read it, so it's getting tossed. This is a Dutch book. It was a gift like in the literary week in Belgium. I have read it. I don't feel like I'll ever reread it. Discovery of Heaven by Harry Mulisch. It is in one of my wrap-ups. I really didn't like this book, so it's getting tossed. The Other Berlin Girl, I haven't felt like reading it in the 10+ years that I have it on my shelf, so it's getting tossed. So this is a more difficult one. This is a series by Philip Pullman. I really liked his Northern Lights trilogy, and so I'm still getting rid of it because I've had it on my shelf for so long, and even though I like the Northern Lights, I've never read this series, so I don't think I'll be continuing. Another case of I've read it, I don't remember anything about it. Read it, severely disliked it. This is also from that series by Philip Pullman, so it's getting tossed because I haven't reached for it. This is a case of don't buy the second and the third book if you don't have the first one. So I bought the second and the third one because it was cheap, and then I said, okay, I'll just have to find my way to the first one, and I never did. And so it's still on my shelf, and now I'm just getting rid of it. Book club book, didn't like it. Also one of these Philip Pullman ones. This is one of many will be coming up. It is basically every book that I've had to read for Spanish at university is getting tossed, because we either had to read super weird books or we read like medieval books and things like that, or mostly just about like discovering America and stuff like that, which really didn't interest me at all. The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness. I have a wrap-up of this. It's not like I severely disliked this or anything like that, but it really wasn't that interesting or that great to me, so I don't see a reason to hang on to it. Two difficult ones to decide on: The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne and Fanny Hill or Memoirs of a Woman of Pleasure by John Cleland. I like these books, but will I ever reread them, and do I feel like the editions are worth keeping? No, not necessarily, so they're going. Then there's an end to this, you know. All of these, I will not go through them, but they're all books that I had to read for Spanish, so they're all mainly they're all from like the discovery of America from that time period. A lot of them are poetry books. I don't read poetry at all. I didn't understand anything of these books when I had to read them, so I'm tossing them. There's no way I will ever reread them, and I didn't like them, so why keep them? And then we have the remaining books in this series that I once bought and never started. Oh. Canterbury Tales by Chaucer. As much as I'd like to tell myself I'll read this one day, I probably won't. Trial by Kafka, I just read it. It wasn't that interesting, it was a little bit boring, and so there's no reason for me to hang on to it after I've read it. The Old Man and the Sea, same, I've read it, didn't really like it all that much, so it's going. A book about mythology by Anthony Horowitz. Don't remember anything about it, and I like mythology, so if I don't remember anything about it, it wasn't that interesting. Then, maybe a shocker, The Power by Naomi Alderman. I read this book, I didn't like it. I mean, I wasn't blown away by it, I didn't severely dislike it, but I was also super disappointed by it, so I'm not keeping it. Read it, was okay, but really it's just like a child's book or something like that. Book for university. Also, one for university. This is also the same as another book I showed, which was like a retelling of Jane Eyre. This is a retelling of The Great Expectations, I think. Both of them are like retellings from a colonial point of view, so they take a character which is mentioned in the original book, and they focus more on like an exotic character that has been like silenced in the original book. So that is interesting about it, but I just don't remember anything about it, and I probably will never reread it. I liked reading it, but that's it, everything, you know. Shadow of the Wind, Carlos Ruiz Zafón. I know a lot of people like it, I don't. Also another Spanish one. Another Spanish one for university. Very weird one, that one. This, we're going to the non-fiction part. 1001 movies you have to see before you die. Basically this is something that is outdated so soon. You know, of course the first films will always be the same, but you know, I basically had to tell myself like, yeah, okay, how many times are you going to use this book? Only if you've seen like a classic and you want to see whether you can cross it off the list, so. A more difficult one, a more difficult one, but one that I will also be tossing is 1000 Places You Have to See Before You Die. I like checking them off, but basically, yeah, it's just my love for lists that's keeping that book in there. A Dutch guide for the southwest of the USA. This guide has been there since I was 12 years old. It's probably super outdated, and I have a more recent one. This book I absolutely enjoyed, but I am going to toss it because there's no reason for me to keep it except for its beautiful cover. This is On the Map, and it's a book about maps. Yeah, which seems very weird, I guess, but it's about like the way maps evolve and things like that. I find this a very very fascinating subject, and maybe on the second hand, I will keep it. I'm keeping it. I'm keeping that one. I can keep one, you know. Bizarre Scotland. I bought this in Scotland, but I should have read a little bit more in it because it wasn't what I was expecting it to be. And the final one. Trini and Susanna, what you wear can change your life. Basically, I read this around the time Trini and Susanna were popular, and I've really never looked into it in like the last 10 years, so why keep it? So these are all the books that I'm definitely tossing. I'll give you an overview of the books that are like on the maybe pile, but I will at some point do like a try chapter thing in them or something like that, or more of a investigation into what they're all about, because for most of them I just don't know what they were about. You know, most of them I either bought at some point when I did read the explanation and thought it was interesting, but I never got around to, or I bought when they were like super cheap and they looked somewhat interesting. So yeah, but more on them later on. Alright, and then we are at the final pile. These are the maybes, and for them I will be doing probably an extra video at some point. I have another cat at me. Hey Fate, are you gonna show your face? No, okay. Is this in focus? Okay. So, The Gathering by Anne Enright. I kept this because I saw the Man Booker Prize winner sticker. Gone by Michael Grant. You know, I never gave it a go. I'm hesitating to toss it at this moment just because I've had it for a very long time. I've never given it a go, but I decided to give it a chance in a try chapter tag. Moby Dick by Herbert Melville. I have read this book, I hate this book, I despise this book, but I hated it with so much fervor that I'm somewhat inclined to reread it to see why do people love this book and to discover if maybe I didn't miss something in it or something like that. In any case, I love to hate on this book, so I think I'm gonna keep it. Damned by Chuck Palahniuk. I don't know anything about it. I feel like I won't like this book for some reason, even though when I bought it I clearly did expect to like it, so I don't know. I'll see when I try it. The Snow Queen by Michael Cunningham. I have no idea what this is about. Unless by Carol Shields, same story. Narrow Road to the Deep North. I bought this once because it was the Man Booker Prize winner and then I didn't get around to reading it, but I still want to give it a chance. I'm a Cat by Soseki Natsume. I was intrigued by Cat, of course, and I still haven't read it, but I want to give it a go. The Great Code by Helen Dunmore. I think my mom gave me this, that she took it away from like a free library at some point, but it really is not my genre, but I will still give it a go. Rabbit Proof Fence. Why is this actually in here? Because I've already read it and I don't know anything about it anymore, so it should go to the tossed pile. Women in Love by D.H. Lawrence. Know nothing about it. 1,000 Acres by Jane Smiley. Also one that I was given by my mother. She got it from a free library. I don't know anything about it. Made American by Bill Bryson. I really like Bill Bryson's writing, but I don't remember. Well, I tried it, I didn't like it, but maybe I should try it for a little bit longer, you know. The Ministry of Utmost Happiness by Arundhati Roy. I listened to the audiobook, or part of the audiobook, for The God of Small Things, and I didn't like it. I was super confused by it mainly, but maybe it's the type of book that you need to read physically because it has like names that are difficult for us to remember, and so I was constantly confused about the names in that book, so I will still give this a go. Let the Great World Spin by Colin McCann. I have read The Hardest Lonely Hunter by Colin McCann. No, that's Carson McCullers, never mind. Let the Great World Spin by Colin McCann. It's basically the name that got me this book. The Walk to Reach the Clouds. I do think I want to keep this one. The side only said To Reach the Clouds, so I hadn't seen that this was the book where the movie The Walk was inspired on, and I really like the movie, so probably. A Sense of Direction by Gideon Lewis Krauss. I don't remember why I bought this. This is the studio game. I don't know where you're supposed to see the title there, but the studio game by Peter Burnett, sorry, no idea. And The Blade itself by Joe Abercrombie, another one that I've had on my shelves forever, never started, but I'm still willing to give it a go. So these are all the maybes, and I'll do a video with them at some point about, you know, the chapter tag most likely, or I don't know, probably it will be the chapter tag that I will try on a couple of them always. You know, I won't try all of them at the same time, but I'll probably like bundle them in sort of like a certain genre standoff maybe, or something like that, to try and eliminate some of these books still. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's been a long time coming. I've really been telling myself, I've been wanting to do this for months, but I've been telling myself, because I have a week off this week, that I would do it that week, and that I would at the same time go through my DVD collection, my wardrobe, everything at the same time, and just get rid of a ton of stuff, and hopefully have a lot less clutter hanging around here. So I will still be filming my bookshelves now, but they will show up in a different video, because I'm pretty sure that this is already a sizable video as it is. So if you want to be notified of that, then don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell button, and then you'll be notified when I post. And I guess the next video after this one will most likely be the bookshelf tour. I'm looking forward to it. My bookshelves aren't that accessible, so I'm pretty curious of how I'm going to film it and what the end result is going to be like. I hope it's still decent, but in any case, you have that to look forward to, hopefully. So bye!